The starship descended slowly through the swirling purple clouds of, its metal hull glinting under the light of the twin suns. The human stood at the edge of the ramp, his hand lightly brushing the railing. His eyes were steady, calm, but his heart beat faster than usual. This was not Earth. This was a world of wonders and dangers, of creatures whose very presence could intimidate even the bravest of warriors. And yet, he felt a quiet determination inside him. Beside him, Princess, his wife, floated gracefully down the ramp. She was the daughter of the Queen, a race known for their elegance, intelligence, and unmatched strength. Her tall, luminous frame and radiant eyes turned to with a smile that was both warm and nervous. "Are you ready?" she whispered. Her voice carried a weight he could feel. It was the weight of expectation, of trust, and of love. Nodded, looking out over the landing site. The palace loomed ahead, a towering structure of crystal and steel, its spires shining like stars. Guards lined the outer walls, their tall forms covered in armor that shimmered with energy. The human had walked into a world where he was expected to be weak, fragile, and ordinary, but knew that humans were underestimated for a reason. Strength often came in ways the aliens could not imagine. The Queen appeared at the top of the grand staircase. Her presence was overwhelming. Towering and majestic, her many eyes, each a different shade of green and gold, fixed on with suspicion. The energy around her radiated authority and power, a force that could silence entire rooms. She raised a hand, and the entire landing ground seemed to pause. Even the twin suns seemed to dim as if respecting her command. Swallowed, he had faced fear before, battled enemies far stronger than himself, but this was different. This was a test of perception, of trust, of proving his worth in front of a queen who had ruled for centuries. And yet he felt no fear, only resolve. He stepped off the ramp, each footfall confident, though the weight of hundreds of eyes pressed upon him. The guards' weapons hummed softly in their hands, ready to strike if he moved wrong. His gaze met the Queen's, steady and unwavering. "Your Majesty," he said with calm respect, "I have come to your world because of love. I am here to honor your daughter, and I promise to protect her." The Queen's lips curved into a skeptical smile, though her eyes remained sharp. "Love," she said, her voice echoing like crystal. "Humans speak of love as if it is a shield. Do you believe your words can protect anyone in this world, against enemies who can crush mountains?" Did not flinch, he looked at who gave him a reassuring nod. His hand brushed the small satchel at his side, a human, simple tools, but tools that had saved lives more times than he could count. "Words are small," he said softly, "but actions show truth." The Queen's eyes narrowed. She was curious, intrigued, and above all, cautious. She had seen warriors of countless worlds, but humans were almost always weak, fragile creatures. To trust one was almost unthinkable. Yet something about made her pause. There was a quiet confidence, a steady calm that did not belong to a weak species. A low wind swept through the landing site, rustling the ceremonial banners. His hair danced in the breeze as she stepped closer to. He took her hand, feeling the warmth of her skin. It was a simple touch, but it spoke of a bond deeper than politics, deeper than royal expectations. It spoke of trust, devotion, and love, the kind of love that could inspire strength no one could foresee. The Queen watched silently as his hand held hers. He did not bow excessively, did not shout promises, did not show fear. Instead, he stood strong, calm, and present. In that moment, Queen realized something she had never considered. Strength came in many forms, and perhaps this human possessed a kind of strength that could not yet understand. The wind carried a whisper across the landing site, and its eyes scanned the horizon. Something was stirring in the skies above, something dangerous. But for now, in this tense moment, the human stood firm, and in that stillness, the Queen's eyes widened slightly. Perhaps this human was more than she had ever imagined. The grand hall of the palace was a place of awe and power. Crystal floors reflected the soft light of the twin suns, and high, arching ceilings stretched like the inside of a cathedral. Followed Princess, his steps quiet but steady. Every corner of the hall seemed to hum with energy, a living testament to the strength and legacy of the Queen waited at the center, her tall form imposing and her many eyes fixed on the human man who dared step into her world. Her voice, like sharp glass, cut through the air. "You expect me to believe a human, fragile, weak, short-lived, can protect my daughter, can stand beside her in strength?" She took a slow step forward, and the floor beneath seemed to vibrate with her authority. Stopped a few feet away, hands relaxed at his sides. He bowed slightly, his face calm, his gaze respectful. "Your Majesty, I am not as strong as you or your warriors," he said softly. "But I love, that is my strength. That is why I am here, to protect her no matter the danger." The Queen's many eyes narrowed. "Love? You think love can guard against real threats, against enemies who can destroy cities, enslave nations, crush lives?" She let her voice echo, sharp and commanding. Every in the hall shifted uneasily. Even the princess's glowing hands trembled slightly. Looked around the hall, then back at the Queen. "Love alone may not stop enemies," he said, steady and honest. "But it gives purpose. It gives courage when all else fails, and courage can be stronger than any weapon." His voice was calm, but it carried a quiet intensity that was hard to ignore. The Queen let out a low, almost amused sound. "Courage from a human," she whispered to herself. "They are short-lived creatures, soft, unprepared. How can a human hope to face what we face every day?" Yet, despite her words, she noticed something in him. There was a stillness, a steadiness, a confidence that humans rarely carried, and it intrigued her. Princess stepped closer to, her glowing eyes filled with pride and hope. She rested a hand on his arm. "He is strong, Mother, stronger than you think." Her voice trembled slightly, not from fear, but from emotion. Squeezed her hand gently, silently acknowledging her trust. The Queen's gaze swept over the hall. Her elite warriors, standing in formation, were strong, precise, and disciplined. None of them had ever shown hesitation, yet here was a human standing calmly in front of the Queen, showing no fear. He did not boast. He did not threaten. He simply existed, and that existence carried a weight she could not yet measure. "Very well," the Queen said finally, her voice firm but curious. "Words are one thing, actions are another. Tell me, human, if I give you a chance to prove your worth, could you do it? Could you protect her against real danger, or will you crumble as all humans do?" His eyes met hers. "Your Majesty, if danger comes, I will stand. I will not falter. I will protect her. Not because I must, but because I choose to. That is human strength." His voice did not waver, though the words carried every ounce of truth in his heart. Queen tilted her head, her eyes reflecting a mixture of skepticism and fascination. She had faced countless threats, countless warriors from distant systems, yet none had ever spoken with such conviction. Could it be that humans, so fragile, so underestimated, held a power beyond the physical? Could they hold strength of heart that even the mightiest had yet to understand? A soft, tense silence filled the hall. Only the faint hum of the palace's energy fields could be heard. His hand remained tense. She leaned slightly toward him, her warmth a quiet shield of support. And standing there in the center of the Queen's scrutiny felt the weight of expectation, the heavy eyes of an entire alien race, and still, he did not falter. The Queen's voice finally cut through the silence. "We shall see, human, we shall see." And in that moment, a distant rumble shook the palace grounds, faint but growing like the warning of a storm. Eyes narrowed slightly. Something dangerous was coming. The distant rumble grew louder, vibrating through the crystal floors of the palace. Eyes scanned the horizon, narrowing as dark shapes began to fill the sky. Ships, unlike any he had seen before, descended with speed and precision. The raiders of the system had come, merciless, cruel, and determined to claim's energy core. Queen's many eyes widened in alarm. Her warriors activated their energy shields, and the palace trembled as defensive weapons hummed to life. But even the Queen knew these raiders were dangerous, faster and stronger than most threats they had faced. Panic flickered in the eyes of the youngest guards, and whispers ran through the court. His heart pounded, but he kept calm. He stepped forward, scanning the attackers, analyzing their movements. Humans had always adapted to danger, relied on intelligence and courage rather than sheer strength alone. And now, that instinct had sharpened into clarity. Grasped his hand tightly. "It's them," she whispered, her voice trembling. "They're stronger than anyone here." Her glow dimmed slightly as fear crept into her tone, squeezed her hand. "Stay close," he said softly. "I will protect you." The first wave of raiders struck the outer walls. Energy beams lit the sky, and the palace trembled under the impact. Warriors engaged them immediately, but the humans and aliens alike could see the tide turning. The raiders were efficient, merciless, and relentless. Reached into his satchel and pulled out a small, metallic device. It was unassuming, compact, but in his hands it was deadly. With a flick of his wrist, the device emitted a pulse of energy that rippled outward, disarming the first wave of enemy weapons. Beams that had threatened to pierce the palace walls fizzled into nothingness. The queen gasped, her voice a mixture of shock and disbelief. "Impossible! A human!" she whispered, her eyes following every move. The thought that humans were weak and powerless shattered with each second. Moved through the battlefield with a quiet determination, every motion precise, every action protective. His eyes filled with tears. She had always believed in him, but seeing her husband confront an army alone, holding back weapons that could destroy entire floors of the palace, filled her with awe and fear. "You're incredible," she whispered. He glanced at her, his expression gentle, but there was fire in his eyes. "I promise to protect you," he said, almost to himself. "And I always keep my word." The raiders adjusted their attack, sending faster, deadlier drones toward the palace. Dodged one beam, caught a falling drone midair, and threw it into another group of attackers. His movements were swift, almost artistic, blending instinct with skill. The queen's elite warriors stared, frozen for a moment, unsure whether to aid him or simply watch. None had seen a human move like this before. A beam struck near, sending shards of crystal and sparks into the air. He shielded instinctively, moving her behind him. The warmth of his body, the protective presence, reassured her. Her fear began to fade, replaced by awe and love. The human she had chosen, the man she had married, was not just brave, he was extraordinary. Even Queen could not speak. Her jaw dropped slightly and her hands clenched involuntarily. All her assumptions about humans, fragile, weak, unworthy, crumbled as she watched face impossible odds. And yet he did not falter. Every step, every move, every action radiated strength, courage, and a power that went far beyond muscle. The first wave of raiders began to retreat, disrupted and uncoordinated after his intervention. The queen's voice trembled as she called out, "Human, what are you?" Did not answer. He simply scanned the skis, ready for the next wave, his eyes steady and determined. In that moment, the palace and the queen realized something profound. Strength was not always measured in size or armor. Sometimes it came from heart, courage, and an unwavering will to protect the ones you love. And the human had all of it. The palace courtyard had transformed into a chaotic battlefield. Smoke curled around shattered pillars, and the ground trembled with every impact of energy blasts. Stood at the center, behind him, her hand in his. His eyes scanned the battlefield, calculating, precise, and calm amidst the chaos. The raiders had regrouped, sending swarms of drones to break through the palace defenses. Warriors clashed with the attackers, their glowing weapons slicing through the air. But even their elite skills could not match the sheer speed and ruthlessness of the raiders. Moved with quiet confidence, dodging blasts, grabbing fallen weapons, and redirecting them toward incoming drones. Each motion was deliberate, almost effortless, yet devastating in effect. His eyes widened with a mixture of fear and amazement. "How are you?" she whispered, her voice trembling. She could see the strength in him now, the way he moved through danger as if it were second nature. Every human instinct, every ounce of courage he possessed, was guiding him. Caught a falling energy blade and sent it spinning into a group of raiders, knocking them off balance. Then, with a single leap, he crashed into another drone, sending sparks flying. The courtyard shook but remained unscathed. Each action was protective, ensuring that and the palace warriors stayed safe. His strength was not just in fighting, it was in timing, intelligence, and unwavering determination. Even the queen's elite guards paused to watch him. Their eyes, sharp and trained, could not believe what they were seeing. A human, a creature they had considered fragile, was moving with the skill and power of 10 combined. The queen herself felt a mix of disbelief and awe, her many eyes following his every move. Stepped closer, her small glow illuminating the path around her husband. "You're incredible," she whispered, her voice filled with pride and emotion. Gave her a quick nod, his attention never leaving the battlefield. "I promised I would protect you," he said softly, "and I will keep that promise." The raiders' leader appeared suddenly, a massive figure armored in dark energy. He swung a weapon that could crush with a single blow. The queen gasped, her hands trembling. "Step back!" she shouted, her voice breaking with fear. His grip tightened, but she did not move him. She trusted him completely. did not flinch. He analyzed the enemy, watching the leader's movements carefully. Timing, positioning, and precision, he knew he had to strike with exact skill. With a burst of speed, he dodged the first attack, spun, and used the environment to his advantage. Falling debris became a shield, a weapon, and a distraction all at once. The Queen's mouth fell open in shock as struck again, disarming a massive cannon and hurling it into the sky where it exploded harmlessly. Each action was calculated, and yet every movement seemed effortless. Her eyes filled with tears as she realized the truth. Her husband was not just brave, he was extraordinary. Even as the raiders pushed forward, his presence inspired the palace warriors. They regained their courage, coordinating their attacks and defending the palace with renewed vigor. The human had shown them that strength came in more forms than they had imagined. Moved through the courtyard like a force of nature, a human against impossible odds, and yet nothing could break his focus. Every step, every dodge, every strike protected the palace and even the Queen herself. By the end of the wave, the raiders were disoriented and retreating. The courtyard lay in ruins, smoke drifting into the purple sky, but stood tall, breathing steadily, his eyes scanning for the next threat. Ran to him, throwing her arms around his waist. "You saved everyone," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. Hugged her gently. "I promised, did I?" he said softly, looking at her with unwavering determination. For the first time, the Queen's eyes softened, not with approval yet, but with wonder. Humanity, she realized, held a strength beyond anything she had imagined. The raiders had retreated only for a moment. From the darkened sky, the massive figure of their leader descended. He was taller than any, his black armor glinting with deadly energy, and his presence alone radiated danger. His weapon, a massive plasma staff, hummed with power, capable of leveling the palace in seconds. His eyes narrowed. He could feel the weight of the challenge ahead. Every warrior in the courtyard froze, unsure if they could face him. Even Queen, standing atop the steps, felt a rare sense of fear. She had ruled for centuries and faced countless threats, but never had she seen one like this. And now her daughter's human husband would face him alone. Grabbed his arm. "You don't have to do this," she pleaded, her voice trembling. Her glow flickered with worry, but looked down at her, his expression calm yet determined. "I promise to protect you. No one else can do it now, trust me." With that, he stepped forward. The ground shook with every step of the raider leader, yet his pace was steady. He dodged the first swing of the plasma staff with a roll that brought him behind the enemy. His training, instincts, and courage combined perfectly. Every move was precise, almost like a dance of survival, strategy, and protection. The raider leader struck again, faster this time, aiming for his chest. Leapt to the side, grabbed a shard of broken crystal from the courtyard, and hurled it with perfect aim. The shard struck the leader's armor, creating a loud spark, but it did not stop him. Smiled faintly. "Good, keep moving," he muttered to himself. Watched, heart in her throat. She had seen him fight before, but nothing like this. Her husband faced a being of immense power and yet moved with courage that felt larger than life. Each dodge, each strike, each decision was made to protect not just himself, but her, the palace, and even the warriors who were beginning to regain hope because of him. The raider leader roared, swinging his staff in a wide arc. Ducked low, rolled forward, and used a fallen pillar as a lever to knock the weapon from his opponent's hands. Sparks flew, energy crackling across the courtyard. The guards gasped, watching the human outmaneuver their deadliest enemy. Seized the moment, he grabbed the plasma staff, using its energy to enhance his next strike. With incredible speed, he disarmed the raider leader completely, forcing him to stagger backward. The alien's roar turned into a hiss of disbelief. He had not expected this. Humans were supposed to be weak, fragile, and helpless, and yet here was one human standing taller than the strongest warrior in the system. Queen's eyes widened. She could barely speak, her jaw slack. For centuries, she had ruled with power, strategy, and knowledge. She had never seen such courage, such precision, such raw determination. Was not just surviving, he was controlling the battlefield. The impossible had become real before her eyes. The raider leader tried one final attack, but anticipated it. With a swift, calculated move, he struck the enemy to the ground, forcing him to surrender. The remaining raiders, seeing their leader defeated, fled in fear. Silence fell over the palace courtyard, broken only by the distant hum of the defensive energy fields. Ran to, throwing her arms around him, tears streaming down her face. You saved everyone," she whispered, her voice full of awe and relief, hugged her gently, breathing steadily. "I promised," he said softly. "I always keep my promises." Queen finally descended from the steps, her expression a mixture of shock and admiration. She looked at the human who had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious. Her mind raced, trying to reconcile everything she had believed about humans with what she had just witnessed. "A human can be this strong," she murmured, her voice barely audible. Turned to her calm and humble. "Strength is not only in size or weapons, Your Majesty," he said. "It is in heart, courage, and the will to protect those you love. That is what humans have." The Queen's many eyes softened, her skepticism fatting. For the first time in centuries, she had no words, only awe. Humanity, she realized, held a power beyond what her people had ever imagined. The courtyard was quiet now, except for the faint hum of the palace's energy shields and the soft crackle of damaged crystal floors. The raiders had fled, their threat vanishing like a dark storm into the horizon. Stood tall, breathing steadily, his eyes scanning for any remaining danger. Ran to him, her hands gripping his arms tightly. "You're incredible," she whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. Smiled gently. "I promised, did I?" he said softly, his voice steady. "I protect you, that is all that matters." The Queen descended slowly from her steps, her robes brushing the ground. Her many eyes studied him, this human who had faced the impossible and emerged victorious. She had witnessed confront a being stronger than any warrior she had ever trained, and he had done it not with sheer size or strength alone, but with intelligence, courage, and determination. Her voice was quiet, almost unsure. "Human, I have seen many warriors from many worlds," she began, her tone unusual for someone so confident. "But none have moved like you, none have fought like you, none have shown such control, such precision, and such heart." Bowed slightly, his face calm. "Your Majesty, I do not fight for glory or for power. I fight for those I care about. That is what humans do. That is what gives us strength." His eyes shone with pride and love. She stepped closer, pressing her forehead to his chest. "My human husband, you saved everyone," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. Hugged her gently, feeling the warmth of her trust. In that embrace, he knew all his training, all his struggles, and all his risks were worth it. The Queen stepped closer, her expression softening. She had ruled for centuries, and in all that time she had never encountered such courage. She had never seen strength so pure, so selfless, so human. Had challenged everything she believed about his species, and had won her respect, whether she wanted to admit it or not. "You are different," she said finally, her voice almost a whisper. "Humans are small, fragile, almost insignificant, and yet you faced danger that would terrify even my greatest warriors. You protected your wife, protected my palace, and you did it all with calm, precision, and courage." She paused, struggling with emotions she rarely allowed herself. "I underestimated humans. I underestimated you." Shook his head slightly, a small smile playing on his lips. "Your Majesty, I am only one human, but humans, when we care, when we have purpose, can be strong in ways even the most powerful beings cannot imagine." The Queen's eyes swept over the courtyard. Her elite warriors stood silent, their expressions a mixture of disbelief and awe. They had fought battles, conquered planets, and yet they had just witnessed a single human change the outcome of an entire attack. Actions had inspired them, and they realized that strength was not only in skill or weapons, but in heart, courage, and love. His hand held tightly, and she looked up at her mother. "See, Mother," she said softly, "he is not just my husband, he is a protector, he is a hero." The Queen's eyes softened even more. She could no longer deny the truth. She had been wrong to judge humans by their appearance alone. This one human had proven that bravery, intelligence, and love could match, and even surpass, what many considered invincible. His voice trembled slightly as she spoke again. "My daughter, you have my respect, perhaps even my gratitude." She paused, and for a moment no words came, only silence filled with the weight of what had been proven. Then she nodded once slowly. "Your strength, it is more than physical. It is rare and admirable. I am speechless." Looked at her calmly. "That is enough, Your Majesty," he said softly. Then he turned to, taking her hand and holding it firmly. Together they stood amid the ruins of the courtyard, survivors of the attack, stronger for what had just passed. For the first time, the queen understood the truth. Humans, though small and fragile, carried a kind of power no one could anticipate, a strength born of heart, will, and unwavering courage. And her daughter's human husband had shown it in full. Sun began to set over the shattered courtyard, casting long purple and gold shadows across the ruins. The air was still, heavy with the scent of smoke and scorched crystal. Stood beside, his hand holding hers firmly. Around them, the warriors slowly regained their composure, their eyes still wide with disbelief. The battle was over, but the memory of what had just occurred would linger forever. Queen approached, her many eyes reflecting a mixture of awe, relief, and something she had not expected, respect. She had watched countless warriors, faced countless threats, yet none had ever moved, thought, and protected with such determination. A human had stood against impossible odds and emerged victorious. And it was not raw strength alone. It was courage, intelligence, and heart. "You have done what no warrior could," the queen said, her voice soft, almost reverent. "Not just fought, but protected, saved, inspired. I do not have the words." She paused, letting her gaze sweep over the courtyard. "A human has proven to me that strength is not measured by power alone, but by heart and will." His hand tightened around. "Mother," she said softly, her glow returning with warmth, "he is my husband. And now he is not just mine, he is our hope, our protector, our proof that humans are more than we ever imagined." Looked at the queen calmly. "Your Majesty, I am only one human," he said gently. "But humans, when we care, when we have purpose, can accomplish things no one expects. Strength is not only in arms or size, it is in courage, in the will to protect, and in love. That is what I have shown today." The queen's many eyes shimmered as she finally stepped closer. "I misjudged your kind," she admitted. "I thought humans were weak, fragile, and fleeting. But you are more than I could have imagined, not because of your strength in battle alone, but because of your heart, your courage, and your loyalty. Perhaps we have much to learn from humans." His gaze softened as he turned to. She smiled, tears glistening in her eyes, relief and admiration written across her face. He pulled her close, feeling the weight of her trust, her love, and her pride. "Together," he said quietly, "we can face anything." Around them, the warriors began to speak in hushed tones, their respect for humans growing. Stories of his bravery, his clever tactics, and his unwavering dedication to protect spread quickly through the ranks. What had once been a species seen as weak was now a symbol of courage, hope, and determination. Queen finally nodded. "Let it be known," she declared, her voice carrying through the palace halls, "that humans, though small and seemingly fragile, possess a strength beyond imagination. They are not to be underestimated, and this human has earned our respect, our trust, and our admiration." Rested her head against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "My human husband," she whispered softly, "you are my hero." Smiled, brushing a strand of her glowing hair from her face. "No, we are heroes together. You and I humans, and together we are stronger than anyone could imagine." As the sun finally dipped below the horizon, the twin moons rose, bathing the courtyard in silver light. A quiet peace settled over, a peace born not just from victory, but from understanding. Humanity had proven its worth, its heart, and its strength. And for the first time, Queen and all her people could see that true power came not only from arms or size, but from courage, love, and the unyielding will to protect those you care about. And stood together, hand in hand, ready to face whatever came next. For they knew that as long as humans had heart, there was no force in the galaxy strong enough to break them. And in that realization, the alien queen was left completely speechless, filled with awe and newfound respect for a species she had once underestimated.